Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's episode. I would like to speak about an interesting concept that when you look at like the idea of sending a message through a glass bottle, I don't know how many people know this, but the conditions of living in North Korea are so extreme that people on the other side of the ocean, they in some sense send USBs with TV shows and TV series or whatever inside bottles with rice, with like the rice kind of makes it, even if water does get inside, it makes it stay dry. So they send these bottles with USB drives of the newest episodes and TV shows so that people on the other side of the shore in North Korea, they can find these and they can illegally watch TV shows that are illegal everywhere else to watch. You know, so I'm just trying to say, like throughout history, people have been sending things forth into time through glass bottles. Now I looked at our planet and I realized there's an atmosphere, and very poetically, I kind of felt everything happening on the planet is like a message. It's literally what our species would write on a piece of paper, you know. And so I kind of see this planet with an atmosphere to be like a glass bottle with a message inside sent through space. I feel that if we were to look at the movement of information, like many planets, there could have information, but we are information that is moving on the surface of the planet. We are conscious that we're informed. I honestly feel that every human being subconsciously is reacting to emptiness. I think we all acknowledge absence. We all acknowledge how something is here and how something can also not be here. We look at outer space and we see so much emptiness. Fermi's paradox. Where are the aliens? You know, where is everybody? And that's the glass bottle situation. I think the moment the human species makes contact with an extraterrestrial species, it would be one of the most inspiring, most cruelest moments of our history because we realize there is another. You know, imagine species were kids in a classroom. You know, they are there in a sort of collective space, but the kid can choose to engage the environment, or the kid can choose to stand tall in their inner environment. Many environments in my own life, it's like when I felt this was when I was younger actually. I felt like the environment wasn't welcoming, and guess what? I wouldn't welcome the environment in my mind. I would kind of walk through the environment as if it didn't exist, you know. And this was a bad habit. I don't know at what point in my life I kind of had this attitude, but it was as if something that I felt didn't see me, I didn't care to look at it. It took me a while to learn that everything is worth looking at and seeing what it is. You know, it's not just sight in this life. It's not just like see what's happening. It's like, or let me say it like how Henry David Thoreau says, it's not what you're looking at that matters, it's what you see. It's what you see. So we're not just looking at phenomenology. This phenomenology is being processed. But because all this phenomenology is in the void, it's like hovering in the middle of nowhere. All of our beliefs, identities, character development, story development, whatever life story development, whatever way we think we are, it is standing in the void. And when I realize this, I can tell you this is the contentment of the unknown. When you can realize everything is in the middle of nowhere. Nothing can solve suffering, the intensity of suffering, than that. To recognize that there is a strange emptiness that every human being acknowledges subconsciously. Most people consciously ignore it. This is why when you talk about deep stuff, people are like, yo, yo, man, stop, please. You know why? Because it takes reality to potentially a confrontation of its absence. That means you won't be a philosopher unless you're not afraid of emptiness. If you're afraid of chaos, you're afraid of order, you will choose not to see some things. The issue is not that human beings cannot access higher dimensions. The issue is that even if they did, they wouldn't notice it. That's the issue. You know, this is the nature of this world. If you let yourself, if the world moves before you do, you feel the world is moving you. If you move before the world, you feel you're moving the world. We have designed a society that if you move first, you feel successful. So the moment something happens, everybody runs towards it. Like it's like you put one glass of water, 20 thirsty people, guess what? They're all gonna attack it, you know? Or like one guy's gonna go there, grab it quickly, and splash it onto his face or something. You know what's funny? I'm thinking if it was a situation where there were 20 people, if there were 20 people, if there were 20 people in a room and there was one glass of water, and it was a kind of game theory situation where all of them would run to it, I think the strategy would be to try to be the first person to grab it but not drink it. To not drink it. Because check this out. If we take into consideration game theory, one glass of water, 20 people in. You drink that glass of water, you automatically have 20 enemies. You have 19 enemies, you know? So the strategy would be to grab the water as a hostage and make allies. You know, be like, yo, nobody come close, I'm gonna drop this, you know? Honestly, I'm being playful here. In reality, a lot of things don't go as expected by the inner realms. That means if you feel the outer realm should be exactly like your inner realm, it's highly probable. In this life, I've wanted many things, and I could say it's been like a 50-50. Sometimes I've gotten it, sometimes I haven't, you know, but it I don't know. There's a strange strength that one holds when they fall down and they get up and they see it wasn't an issue. That means think about there being a dark room and some people don't want to go into this dark room and some people go into the dark room. The people who go into the dark room, they are not afraid of the darkness. That means the darkness is equal to them to like the light, you know? That was a huge thing. In my morality at first, there was something against evil. It was something against like good. It was like a morality where it was like that's good, that's bad. And later on, I realized life is so multidimensional and multi-angled that the good and bad are just acceptances of viewpoints. A planetary message inside a glass atmosphere. I feel our species cannot ignore the surreal anymore. Reality will descend into the surreal or it will ascend to it. We will look at this life and we will realize it was never what we thought we were. That the eyes are not just the senses, that the senses are being processed and there is a movement, there is the emergence of free will. Free will is like the tool in the hand of an eternal being, you know, going through a temporary building, a temporary project, you know. In this life, you can become very esoterically minded, but most likely what happens is that usually the average man, that they become interested in the metaphysical, they're becoming interested in it because there is something bothering them about life. What does that mean? That means most spirituality can be an escapism from actually wanting to be in the intensity of the world, you know, and that's why suddenly the person feels there's another storyline they can escape through. You know, you look at most religions, most teachings, they're like making you kind of fight for the reward. The person wants to get into heaven. The person wants to get into an enlightened state. The person wants to constantly get somewhere. And it's as if, like, if you listen to an ideology and that ideology is preparing you for the future, then you've kind of forgotten to live now. That means I was raised in a theocratical society. I was born in Iran, and then at a young age I came to Canada, and then in the summers I would visit and whatnot. And I can tell you that the story the world gives itself makes all the difference. I feel we have been language worshippers for too long. I feel the era of advanced communication is upon us, that we are no longer just content moving objects around or being just moving objects. Now the mind has ignited. There's a poem by Dylan Thomas. He says, "Rage, rage against the dying of the light." What does that mean? That means utilize the evolutionary opportunity. That means while you're alive, study life. What greater work can there be? I'm going to share with you guys an inner vision I had this in 2015 when I was writing this book called The Source of Language. This big book with random entries, you know. I had this vision. I don't know what I named the chapter. I think it was the Golden Drop Vision. The Golden Drop Vision. And I don't know why, my inner realms, in 2015, I was just, I was in some casual place, you know. And then in my inner realms, I perceived myself kind of being, like, it was weird. It wasn't like, it's not, sometimes the inner realms, you can perceive yourself and identify with the imagery as a memory, or you can just perceive the event, the inner event. And so for me, I wasn't per se too identifying with it, but there was a sense of knowing. And in my inner realms, I saw this golden, like silver surfer like being without the silver surfer, without the surfboard. And this golden surfer kind of being in my inner realms was on a rock that was empty, wasn't on earth, was on a rock that was purely empty. And there came this tear, this golden tear from the eyes of this being, and the being used the index finger to grab with the, where your nail is for your index finger. In the inner realms, I was perceiving this. The being picked his own tear up with his nail and shot it into space, as if going through at a speed where it's as if throwing a golden tear into space. And objects in space, it's a vacuum, so there is no resistance that much. So the object just endlessly roams in space, you know. And poetically, that inner realm, there was just this instantaneous knowing where I felt like something. It was this moment where it was a message sent, as if there are beings on this planet that have perceived this planet, and I don't know. It was like a kind of feeling of the hope beyond the veil, as a sort of reinforcements, you know. I mean, guys, I'm just sharing my inner realms at this point. Like, the reality of that story is very personal. It was just a personal movement of my inner realms. But the idea of it, I had dedicated a whole chapter in this book, the Source of Language, where I had kind of explained the significance of that vision. And the significance of that vision is really that if we choose to bring a future, if we choose to be consider a past, and we consider ourselves to be the present, we have literally made time into an object of consideration. So it's kind of like wondering how an object uses time, and you kind of realize the object's going to try to see time through its own image. And that there is no such thing as really the past and future. It has just been one occurrence. You think nature sleeps? Creatures in nature sleeps, but the growth of the evolution of the world does not stop. Sorry, guys. This was on mute and I was talking. Ah! Guess the trees had to only hear that part of the talk. Ah, man. This life is a grand movement. Guys, I'll tell you something that a lot of people don't know. I remember the first time in 2014 when I started giving these talks. That I think it was the second talk I ever gave. Guys, check this out. Imagine me in 2014. It was the second time me giving a talk, and I would walk and talk when I began giving these talks. So I would walk around and kind of give the talk. And I remember the second one, I went into explaining the metaphysical substructure of what was happening when Moses had parted the two seas, just playfully, poetically. I had attempted that, and I remember the file. I gave the talk, and then I came to play the talk, and the file was corrupted. And the talk could not even open. It was the weirdest thing. It was like an error that I had never expected from the iPhone voice memo app. Guys, you don't know how many times I've pressed that red button on the iPhone voice memo app. I can believe it that I mean, maybe some journalists can outdo me in this area, but like, I've literally pressed that red button more than like thousands of times, more than 2,000 times. When that talk couldn't play, I felt I had lost something important. And then I felt the inner realms. I felt the whispers of the logos in my inner realms, the winds of the logos. And it was this sudden knowing that it was as if who lost the talk. And I realized that whatever happens in this world is okay. That at the end of the day, this material reality, like Vinland Saga in that Japanese comic series, it was like the father was about to die, but he put his hand on his terrified son's head and said, "I'm glad." Like it was, you know. I felt I had lost something important. Then I realized tomorrow always brings the new. That whatever we emerge, whatever we pilot onto this plane of existence, whatever we land from our inner realms into the outer realms, there will be more. There will be so many more eyes than my own. And that's the hope of humanity. That every moment, as I'm speaking, like, yeah, like our species has made some mistakes, but as I'm speaking, you know how many human beings are being born right now? How many unique visions upon this world? It's like, I'm telling you, we are the pioneers of 1,000 years from now. And we can leave gifts for them. So guys, in the chat section, there's a question. Juan Hernandez says, what do you think about Zen Master Alan Watts? I think you mean the Alan Watts with one L. Alan Watts, he's I could say he saved me his talk when I was he's an advanced communicator, and I honor him for piloting the attention of the species in the way that he did. You know, you see, this world. Alan Watts, probably most speakers usually understand this. That there is a linguistic simulation going on. That there is a value in sharing the world. That's how stories pass. That's how history was kept. Somebody gave a shit about a story back in the day. I feel we are all evolving towards an inconceivable collective mind state. I'm not joking. I've looked at the patterns of evolution, and it's kind of like what seems to be going on. I mean, every person is like starting from their own corner of the universe, but like I divide it into four stages, guys. And this is why I feel we are literally passing the third stage of this evolution, kind of evolutionary model. This is, you can say, this is Mr. Within's kind of model on evolution, so it doesn't step on any other ideology's toes. Um, so here's the thing I see, guys. First, there was an unconscious world. What? What does that mean? The unconscious world is literally no comment. It's just phenomenology. Just think atoms moving in space, nothing interesting. Then there came what you can say Mr. Within's school of thought. This is how I use the word, the objective evolution. The way I say the objective evolution is very different than the way scientific circles use it, because for me the significance of objective evolution was the emergence of the body of a creature. So we went from an unconscious world to an unconscious self. Okay? What does that mean? That means there was a body, there was no consciousness to the being. What does that mean? That means when you look at animals, I mean, that animal is conscious, you know, but it's not conscious of itself. Like they say, what separates human beings from other species? We are aware of our mortality. Animals don't stress it out. Look at your pet. Is your pet stressed about its future? No. You know, this is why they say cats are like the best pets for Zen masters. So we went from the unconsciousness of a world to the unconsciousness of a self. That means a body emerged. For imagine how for millions of years, just creature with legs attempting movement, no mind, no awareness to where it's moving, just movement. So after the phase of an unconscious world, we went to the phase 2 of evolution. We came to the unconscious self, which was the objective evolution. Then we came to the conscious self. This is where me and you are alive. This is why individuality is important right now in civilization. You got to be an individual, the linguistic simulation. Guys, I'm writing on a glass table I have on my porch. So the conscious self is what I call the subjective evolution, and it is what schools don't teach, and it's weird that they don't teach it. It's very weird. Schools are not teaching it, you know. Yeah, guys, I'm writing this on. I'm telling you guys, all your windows, just invest in what is it, dry erase marker, and all windows, all mirrors are whiteboards. You don't know how many of like my mirrors and my windows are filled with notes. You know, it's like you brainstorm on glass with a marker. So check this out. Conscious self, the subjective evolution. This is, Jean Lacan kind of, in a micro way, speaks about it and says it's that moment in the child's life where the child looks at itself in the mirror and realizes, whoa, I'm a person right now? You serious? So it's awareness to the objective, whether it was through the shadow, the creature saw its shadow and it's like, what is this shadow? Or the creature saw itself in let's say ice, or the creature saw itself in a pond, you know? So it's an awareness that you are an object and you also cannot be an object. So most people feel death is something to be afraid of. No, death is an advanced state of mind where it's like the third phase of evolution in Mr. Within's view, the evolution of creaturehood. And so in the third phase, the conscious self, what is the fourth phase? The fourth phase is the conscious world. Do you know what that means? That means we were an unconscious world, we became an unconscious self, then we became a conscious of this unconscious self, then now we are becoming conscious of the unconscious world. So today we have bodies, tomorrow we're going to be consciously the whole world. So the phase 4 of evolution, I have predicted it, it's not now. It's most likely going to be, in my vision of civilization 2.0, after phase... How would I say it? It's like this is a cycle. These are like evolutionary seasons. After the conscious world, let's say all of us stop being individuals right now and we became like all a field of mind, that as if nobody's mind was separate, it was all one mind, and yet that means everybody knew, everybody had access to everybody's experiences at all times, imagine. Right? That would be the kind of image I'm trying to tell you for the, we become the consciousness of the world, no longer the dualistic conscious relationship of the world where there's a self and a world, you know? It's like, for how long are we just going to be me on this earth, you know, just little old me, you know, this self. You know, the self is even temporary because there's this whole notion of death. The fact that we're temporary, it's kind of cool. People shouldn't fear death. Fear is an inspiration. Death is the greatest, is the most motivational speaker you will see. When you see that things come to an end, you are left with exerting your free will. So this planetary message has only till now. So what? I didn't give it a number, but I think maybe after, like, I don't know, just to be safe, I'll say 4,000 years from now, probably more. That would be a point where we will reach the epitome of the conscious world. We will be so conscious as a world where we will no longer be individuals. We have transcended our individual existence experientially. Now, here's the cool thing. This means alien contact is only possible in a range of 10,000 years. We are only able, as terrestrial creatures, to make contact with extraterrestrial creatures as long as we are creatures. If we evolve, literally imagine if we connect all our heads in the future to the same computer or something, to some sort of digital cloud, cyberspace reality, at that point it would destroy the significance of alien contact. Because who would the alien be making contact to? To one human digimind? Like, do you know what I mean? So that's the thing. Alien contact, we shouldn't be afraid of it. We should hope that it happens. It's like we should welcome it. We shouldn't be scared of it because we only have a certain range of opportunity for a certain thousands of years to be individual creatures. Because the mind has mysteries that once you truly penetrate those mysteries, you become the unknown moving your own knowledge. So it's like when in my youth, I felt I was this person I am, you know. Now I don't feel I'm this person. I feel this person, this projection of position of selfhood. It's exactly that. It's momentary. My personality is moment to moment to moment. It comes down to a silent where I am preferenceless to myself, and then it suddenly, if I choose to move or act or anything, then individual archetypes are evoked. So you can say archetypes. This was something that might shock Carl Jung. I don't know, but archetypes are a certain state. There's a certain state of mind where your mind can fragment into endless possibilities. That means there's a state of mind where the mirror is shattered, the mirror of truth is shattered, and there's a state of mind where the mirror has not shattered. Those who their state of mind, the mirror has not shattered, they become kind of lovers of oneness. Those whose mirror has shattered cannot just become lovers of oneness, so they actually their enlightenment is not through bhakti yoga, it is through karma yoga. It's as if you're a creature on this earth where your ultimate fulfillment perhaps will occur when you actually do a certain work that only you can do. You know, the religious man did not see the fascinating advancement of the scientific endeavor. The secular man did not see the mystical inner emotional relationship and awe with a story of truth. But it was only that very out of place spiritual guy that saw both worlds and still wondered if there was more. When you realize ideology is a lens and you never need to be possessed by it, you are free before you need to be. So guys, in the chat section, Yuan says, Neil deGrasse Tyson talks about why aliens don't contact us. Is this because you find something in a contact or warn? They can't provide intelligence or something. Guys, the issue is not that. What if I told you aliens were everywhere, they just didn't have bodies? Like, what if that was the case? The issue is not the alien contact. I wrote a book on this, but it's called Cationic Imprints. You can buy it if you like, but it's on Amazon. But the idea is that we should not assume the other in our own image, so we shouldn't assume it would understand. The issue with communication is you can have someone from Japan and you can have someone from Italy, and if they can't speak a common language, okay, they're going to be two different, believe it or not, in their inner realms, they're like aliens, right? They're speaking an alien language, okay? Imagine the first Japanese person who saw the first Italian person ever in history. Like, their languages were so different, and it's as if, it was like a Mamma Mia situation of such, intense proportions, where it's like two people with two different languages communicating, but it is only their humanity that is their common language. So we should hope that if there's extraterrestrial contact, there is a language of humanity. The creature could be sensitive. So I would say the best thing we can do is create a series of theatrical performances for extraterrestrial contact. That means when alien comes, we're gonna perform on stage for them. And I think the most interesting thing is music. We should play music for aliens. If there's an alien, if there's an extraterrestrial, let's say there's a bunch of people in a crowded town square in an alien lands, okay, in that crowded town square. I am telling you, the only person who should go up to that alien and communicate should be a guitar player or a street musician. That street musician should go in front of the alien and just play an incredible kind of like guitar riff or some beautiful music. Then the alien will ascribe that beauty to all of us. That alien's going to be like, you telling me all of them can create beautiful music? And guys, I thought about it. I thought about it if there came an evil advanced like species, and we had to negotiate with them, and they were going to enslave us. But we had to negotiate. I would try to take the negotiation if we had no way, and we knew that they were going to enslave us. I would try to take the negotiations that we give them music, and instead of labor. So at least all human beings become musicians, and secretly, while we play music, we also build those instruments as weapons to free ourselves. Man, that's silly. I feel that aliens, uh, we shouldn't assume we can understand them. We should just create platforms of communication. We should create a table that we can both sit on. You know? Sorry, not sit on, sit at. Can you imagine sitting on a table cross-legged and with a chessboard on the table and an alien on the other side is playing chess? Sorry, guys. Needed a quick breather there. So, anyways, I feel everybody should invest in a journal and conduct a multidimensional analysis of their own self, on their own, how consciousness is, how experience is existing, and how existence is being experienced. It's kind of like this, guys. You got to live for something before you die, or you never get to see what your life is. But that something is not a something. It's like first it's an object, then it's a subject, then it's a state. Then it's like an experience. So it's like some people desire objects, some people desire subjects, and some people desire experiences. both the teacher and the student are on the same battlefield. So there was never such a thing. Everybody has been piloting their own eyes from the beginning. Guys, think of this. Think of alien contact not being a concept. Then, in some sense, we don't have the language for it. We don't have the language to understand it. Like language is the space that reality gets accepted in. You know. That means you know how many inner images there are in my inner realms where literally I don't have words for. Do you know how much of the world I have seen that you can't communicate it? You know there are certain precious moments in life where it's only you and the cosmos, and it's as if you feel first it's completely empty, lifeless, you know, and then you suddenly see, what if it has a voice? What if it communicates to you? Guys, let me tell you, some people are talking about um, discouraging war in the chat section. Let me tell you, where does war begin? It begins in the minds of man. And literally, if you let nature be, it balances itself out. It is only the extremeness of what the inner realm wants that the outer realm can't give, that there is a sort of hatred about. Because people think they are their personality, and because the personality changes, uh, they become an endless creature of chasing the effect of what they have caused. Can you cause something? Can you set something into motion and watch it as if the cause or the sense of how there is something there from the beginning doesn't change? Like, has being ever gone anywhere? Can anything happen to existence? Not, I mean, let's say existence, can anything happen to changing existence? That means that's the cool thing. The concept of fear didn't exist when we were before the subjective evolution. We were fearless creatures that had no concept of fear. We were just a directed effort. But when we became aware of where the direction could lead, then fear emerged. Because there could be this idea from the theistic perspective that how else can man communicate with a higher being if he doesn't consider there to be a higher being? That means the lack of consideration of another dimension even limits the exploration of it. I feel that this is the simple route towards an advanced civilization. Civilization is a technology. We, the members of civilization, are the users of this technology. We require the technology to advance, but we also require the users of the technology to advance. So imagine you are also a user of this biological technology that is how you're being an organism. Now the whole mystical quest is about intelligence, wondering how intelligent can it really be. And so it studies its own being. discovering the nature of how the mind puts forth the action. So it's like those who honor their mind, they will pilot through this realm, through this plane of existence smoothly. Those who don't honor how their intelligence is simultaneously being the intelligence of the universal sector, it's like the person one day got sad and looked down upon themselves. Then suddenly, this general from a battlefield came and said, "How dare you? How dare you not realize that when you dishonor yourself, you're dishonoring a part of the cosmos? You're dishonoring the cosmos when you dishonor yourself." You know? The recognition of the inseparability of the individual activity and the cosmic activity is the end of meditation, as Swami Krishnananda says. That means the ultimate state of man is even beyond meditation. It's an acquaintance with a rhythmic relationship with the world. So guys, there's a question from Lucas. He says, so what's the message in the bottle? I think the message in the bottle is the relay of an event that is taking place. I feel something is happening on Earth, that it's like getting prepared for a liftoff, and so it's as if there's a sort of ceremony. It's as if, think of it this way, imagine the behaviors from an aerial view, all the behaviors conducted by human beings throughout the world on the surface of the planet is like the ritual of humanity. It's like a ceremonial kind of, whether we like it or not, it will appear as a sequence of decisions. So I am saying, if on the surface of the earth there is coming an evolution of our communication as creatures, we're realizing that there's more to life than just objective gain, where the subjects are causing us to become wondrous of the true nature of reality. So I feel it's an event. Something important is happening. And that's the most important message. That I think the collective mind is waking up. So anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in. I'm going to open it up to Q&A for 10 minutes. So thanks for listening this far. If you're done with the talk, you can leave. But it's Q&A now. So guys, ask a question and I'll enter cyberspace to give you an answer. You see, Lucas, I'm not even speaking about it in an esoteric or mystical way. I'm just saying that it's like we are advancing. Literally, it's like the next phase of our evolution. We're becoming aware we're more than subjects, and we have to figure out what we're going to do and what kind of civilization we're going to build. You know. Guys, while people come up with questions, I'm gonna listen to Vinland Saga soundtrack. Can you guys imagine with what intense music I'm listening on the other side? Guys, Lucas says, I agree, a smart, non-violent race about increases frequency and vibration. The Earth's vibration is picking up too. Let me tell you what the feeling is. The feeling is not a feeling that one can get from a story. It's just when you feel there is more unknown variables than known variables, so you have to depend on the polishing of your senses and the study of your attention. That means it's like something no teacher ever said was like, study yourself. I wish my teachers would have said that in school. Nobody ever said it. No teacher came to me and said, "Hey, buddy, you have a different DNA. You got to find your own way of relating to all this phenomenology around you." You know. Guys, something, Lucas. I think you maybe weren't here at the beginning. I'll share this. Guys, for me, I really don't care. Like, here's the thing. I honor language. I Language is like literally the most advanced technology after you have, what do you call it? After you have technology, like actual technology with you, like your gadgets or whatnot. After that, the next advanced technology you can use is literally your communication ability. So I would say that I am not fond. I don't think this world is a story, even though I'm on this massive storytelling project. But I'm telling you, life is not a story. There was a Before you learned language, you were experiencing as a presence. Then you became a personality. You woke up in your individual consciousness as a personality, but you have always been the presence before it. Language is no, 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 Lucas. Language is not like, don't relate it to magic. See, the world. The one thing I say, all those people in esoteric societies, or they want to have some secret narrative to the world. Let me tell you this: that's the rudest thing you can do into the unknown. It's literally childish, because this plane of existence is designed for this plane of existence. It's not designed for another plane of existence. That means when you go to work and you're in your office, you're there to do office work. Okay, when you are in the visible objective realm where there's sensory perception, you're not just still meant to do invisible work. Okay, the invisible work is, how can I tell you, the invisible knows how to be invisible. So I'm telling you, it's an obsession with language. I am not fond of language worship. I feel language is a technology. We don't have to. It's like here's the thing: any person who feels this whole life can be put into a story. I'm telling you, it's kind of like Iron Man never stepping out of the Iron Man suit and thinking that he's the Iron Man suit. You're not the Iron Man suit. You're not the language that your experience activates to be something in the moment. You're way more than that. There's a silence in this world that reminds all words, all worlds, all design where it has come from. There's a stillness before you move that you're also being. And when you become aware of that stillness, you tap into what in Zen they called mindfulness. That mindfulness meant you see that the only reason the mind is full is because it was empty first. And you find the bliss of the pure moment. And after that, there is no longer archetypes stop chasing you. Your karma stops bothering you when your meditation is proper. And your meditation, guys, is your whole lifetime. It's not just an activity. It's how you're aware life is here. Before words could enslave it to an image, to a static image. It's a dynamic process. It's like the birds are chirping, whether I rationalize it or irrationalize it. The sun is shining regardless of if I stare at my own shadow. That's the thing about life. It's a re-emergence into the unknown. The collective mind is an unknown, dynamic, rhythmic, advanced, and conceivable state. The reason I'm using so many words because the language threshold has its own poetry. And so, guys, I actually feel like reading some poetic hymns I wrote in 2015. I know it's the Q&A. Okay, actually, people are asking questions. Let me ask this first. Thyme says, the world seems to be becoming... Thyme Parzival says, the world seems to be becoming more polarized. How do you stay centered on your path? I give myself moments in life where I go sit and I stop trying to know or be a knower, and I just watch what happens when I don't do anything. And there is a sort of, after 10 to 20 minutes, or when you really are aware of it, you kind of realize it's just something you're noticing about the moment. And it's this simple awareness. I don't know how to tell you. It's like the more you physically move, it's like individual consciousness immediately activates. But the more you are still and silent, the more you begin seeing how you're just sight in a moment. How it's before the language, before the beliefs, whatever people have told you, you are attention, just being here. Simple. So simple. So simple that the complexity of words could never contact. And so that's why I'm saying that even if we think about extraterrestrial contact, we can be lost in our pictures as long as we want, but it could be a silence. You know, Sri Ramana Maharshi has said one of the most important quotes that is necessary. He says silence is also conversation. That means there is a value in silence and stillness. It is not just the loss of value. So guys, thanks for the question. I would say the way I stay centered is that I honor the presence of my attention and fearlessly just go forth to see what happens. That means it's like just consider the variables. Be like pilot your life, dear listener. There is no greater way. You know, you wait for the world. If the world moves you, you won't feel your free will deserves it. But only when you move your free will, you will feel you deserve it. You know? Okay, guys, so there's more questions coming in. Just hang in there, folks. I'm going to change the soundtrack. This music I'm listening to is literally too intense. Lucas Bellick says, do you spend a lot of time in society? I end up frustrated a lot because of what I see. I try to feel the good, but I get so angry. Is there any way to separate the two? First of all, acknowledge that whatever moment you're in, you can choose to see an efficient progression of events, or you can choose to see an efficient one, an inefficient or an efficient one. Okay? So that means in any moment you feel inefficient, that same moment you had the opportunity to feel efficient, you missed that. You know? So I would say take your attention towards efficiency, see the gift efficiency has to offer before you accept whatever inefficiency has to say. So I would say that, of course, I mean, my personal pursuit is, let me tell you, there's nothing wrong with society when you realize how unconscious society is. It's like when you go to the yard and you see like birds and squirrels on a tree. Do you kind of get angry? No, it's just nature moving. So society, on some level, to me, it's like there's nothing to worry about. It's just nature moving, but it's nature moving, because in a sort of context of certain things have to be abided by, certain things shouldn't be abided by. You know, what I feel this life is that the human attention is so profound that ideas are trying to consume it. And only when you get content with the watcher, you will not fear your own life experience. You know, there are some people on earth who want to go into heaven, and there are some people who have realized earth is in heaven. It is in the heavens. I'll tell you this here. I attended Toronto Film School, and I got to witness the shadows of society in downtown Toronto. That means, like there's a view that a tourist has of downtown Toronto, and there's a view of somebody who's attending film school every day, smoking a cigarette, kind of looking at the world and seeing like, okay, is this really Canada? Is this really the society we want? You know. And so let me tell you, society is. I'm telling you, it's civilization 1.0. That means we are living in a fax machine level civilization. You can't expect the civilization to care for your eyes. You can expect it to care for your eyes if you abide by its regulation, you know. But let me tell you this: it's not just even that. When I was there, do you know how many disoriented human beings I saw walk on the street? You know how many it was? It made me cry. The first free week of it, it made me kind of tear up inside. Where I had never seen this dissension of will to that degree. Where it was like on Dundas, I was there, kind of like I'll share the experience with you. And guys, I'll tell you this. In this story, I'm going to be talking about smoking, so I'll tell you something about smoking. The best time to quit is before you ever try. You know, I was there in downtown, and so many homeless people destroyed, defeated people. People where you see them as if that was a human being once upon a time, you know. And so they would. It first week it shat like my kind of. I remember I just went home, and I was like, it's like society has failed. But after so many days, I began to kind of study it, and every day I would look at the people. Like there was one at one point, there was this guy shouting at a wall, you know, and I don't know if the guy was shouting at some reflection he was seeing in that wall like window, or the person was actually shouting at the wall. I don't know, or if they were seeing something totally different. They were so disoriented. And I realized that the human psychology is so fragile, and this is what many nations haven't considered. That human beings shouldn't waste their whole life allocating resources. They should, in some sense, be occupied with games that advance, that are win-win. You know, I pretty much saw, guys, that the downtown area of every country is where the defeated and the successful walk, but there's a veil between them. And that veil, as it keeps the kind of humanity awake. That means, believe it or not, on some level, sure, we call it the freedom of modernity, but on another level, it is a process. It is a dehumanization of the humanity part of us. That means if this civilization keeps going the way it is, I don't know, we're gonna stop being human beings at some point. It's like, and the day we stop being human beings is the day we have gone extinct before we go extinct. The moment there is a dissension into unnecessary savageness, it is like, how many tears are being wiped by the future generations. There's been moments in this is a very deep personal thing I'm going to share with you. Guys, there was a moment where I was I was seated somewhere, I was looking at something, and I had no emotion of sadness or anything, but my eyes started to tear up. It was as if there were tears coming down from my eyes, but my nose wasn't, my nostrils were completely dry. Like it was weird. It was like I was just sitting and there were tears coming, right? And for a second I felt, whose tears are these? And I feel, believe it or not, we're living multiple lives. We just don't realize it. We are multidimensional beyond our language's ability to interpret the dimension. Lucas, I'll tell you this. As long as you blame the world, your free will is not in the passenger seat. Your free will is not in the driver's seat of your life. When you give the power of what the world should be to the design of your environment or an idea from your environment, you stop being you in the environment. For me, the issue is not what the government is doing. The issue is what has stopped people from being themselves. What has occupied their attention. And it's honestly due to resource allocation. Isn't it tragic, guys? On some level, I can understand like endless tears for this idea that human beings are spending their whole lives doing physical actions that only they themselves feel, and only the result passes on for some institution, company, or organization or whatever. I think that we declared freedom of speech as a human right. But we never wondered if we're truly free. And that's the thing. How can you define freedom? You cannot have a context of freedom. Freedom, in its true definition, is a novel entrance. It's knowing the value before you need it. That's freedom. You're free internally from the relationship with the outer phenomenon. Oh my God. Guys, can people hear the rain? Guys, I don't know. I think I have to write in the title of this talk featuring the rain. People have heard the element of the wind and the element of uh, the people in this talk. They have heard the sound of rain, the element of water, the sound of wind, the element of air. They have heard the sound of fire, and they need to hear the sound of the earth. And lightning is good for that, I guess. You know. So, guys, was there more questions? Oh, Aziz says, what is the meaning of the word monophonic? Let's see. Using so monophonic means using only one channel of transmission. Yeah, it's like calling yourself. That's monophonic. Anyways, guys, I think um, Yuan, I'm not sure what you're implying. Guys, any mystical questions? Any questions about the nature of reality? Out of curiosity. Anyone wondering about the nature of the world they're in? So, guys, I've kind of I thought about setting up this project, and I thought about calling it School of Athens 2.0. And I decided to kind of, in the future, I haven't done it for now. I have given a few public talks, like in front of audiences, but I haven't intentionally given those talks. The moment found me. In the future, I have this vision of kind of like trying to. I think I'm kind of there. I'm almost there. I can almost. Here's the thing. I'm just saying that I created a community, School of Athens 2.0. Anybody who joins that community, I'm accessible to for any questions at any time. But also, I'm trying to develop a community where eventually I'm going to do a workshop for. So if I can give context to the community before I give the workshop, then it would make more sense that way. You know? Because guys, you don't know. In the next couple months, you're gonna see me do some ridiculous things that you've never seen. I'm setting up a bunch of new channels, and my attention is gonna be occupied. But in the Patreon community, I'm going to probably like tomorrow set a Zoom or Discord or something. You know, some sort of Discord thing. You know. So in that way, I can talk to anybody, and there could be like 2 hours of Q&A or whatever. I'll just come and see what people want to talk about, you know. So I would recommend joining that community if you're interested in hearing more from me. Uh, and pretty much, I'm also like people get access to content there too. I don't know, guys. I'm you don't know. Like my relationship with technology is most of my activity goes to. It's like our civilization has a body and our civilization has a mind, and based on how long the person feels they're here, they aim to advance or contribute to as many dimensions as they can as Rumi says, before death takes away all that is given, give away all there is to give. Something like that. Okay, Yuan says, how can find the soulmate? How can you find the soulmate? First, find out who you are. So if you're around your soulmate will know, at least you know who you are. So I would say, don't stop chasing the butterfly, and kind of study who you are as a person. And eventually it is a series of conscious decisions that solidify character in the inner realms to be an expression for. So I would say, abide by your true nature, and you will not only find your soulmate, you will find everything that your nature is prepared for. You will see that if your design was a seed, what tree sprouted from this? We're intelligent beings. We're not just objects and subjects of intelligence. There's an unknown still, Trust the unknown. And it's kind of like Lao Tzu says this, Yuan. He says, you got to let go of who you are now to be who you're meant to, something like that. So you got to let go of who the person you think you are now that wants a soulmate, because the moment you get to that moment, you're not going to be this. So just be observant of your nature. So guys, if there are more questions, please ask. I'm going to just read one poem, and then I'm not going to disturb the rain with my talks anymore. For this moment, yeah. Let me see. What poem is destined to enter the ears of the world at this moment? So guys, I'm gonna... Let me see which one. Okay, there we go. So guys, in 2015, I wrote this poetry work called My Solaris. It was kind of like, I wrote it in a very... It's like there wasn't language in my mind when I was writing it. There was more an emotion. So this poem is the first poem of My Solaris. It's called Let Gratefulness Conduct You. Okay? So guys, I wrote this in 2015. This is a poetry tunnel. I think I might read a bunch more of these. So guys, this is something cool. Let's try this out. How many poems are there? There is 34. So 1 out of 34. So the first 2 people who choose any number out of 1 to 34, I would read those poems randomly. Let's see, we can see what they are. So My Solaris, the first poem, Let Gratefulness Conduct You. Sorry guys, had to refuel. Let gratefulness conduct you. Truth comes and goes. Sorry guys, the rain is hitting my computer. This is ridiculous. Okay. Truth comes and goes. We are all the children of one creation. It is important to see the cosmos in every moment and a grain of sand. What if truth was laughing at how God forgot himself only to create the greatest remembrance? Our choices are of cosmic significance. Do not fear the unknown, for how do you think knowledge is here? The emptiness of the container suggests the clarity that can be poured. He who strives for truth has already forgot her. Your planet is your home. Do not be rude to your mother, or Father Time will slap you hard. The memory of freedom is the best place to begin from. How does the messenger relay the message that begins within and also ends within? These questions are wild horses, only tamed by compassionate self-contemplation. Let gratefulness conduct you, for when the universe looks in the mirror, it sees you. Are you crying yet? Question mark. The poem's asking the one reading it, are you crying? It's like, not yet. Did you know tears... Okay, here, let's continue. Let gratefulness conduct you, for when the universe looks in the mirror, it sees you. Are you crying yet? Did you know tears of bliss are smiles from the edge of the universe that is also satisfied with itself? Okay, guys, that was the poem. Um, so Thyme says, when there are so many desires in life, how can one find their true calling? You got to reverse engineer to who has the desire and suddenly realize that you're an attention that has been choosing the context you've been moving in. So I'm saying before you find your true calling, look at what's going on first. Look at what you are. You might suddenly realize that you have been comprehending life, maybe not linguistically. Maybe you've been your emotional intelligence as a person has been your kind of translation mechanism of the environment. You know, some people, for example, like I'll tell you this: there was a point where my inner realms, I wouldn't see images in it. I would just see words at most. At most, I could imagine sentences. But then it shifted where I can now see images, where it's very easy. It's like literally, it's like a film behind your eyes, which you are identifying with. Pretty much, guys, energy became conscious of itself, then it gave itself a story, then it became a character in a story, and now the character is like, what do I do now? So all on an existential level, you can just be energy conscious of itself, or you can build, you can design, you can study the nature of your. You are a unique DNA. Who knows? It's like every person's DNA is like an instrument, and your how you live this life is like whether you master this instrument or not. So it's kind of like we shouldn't fear the command, master your own intelligence. But not don't be an egoic kind of archetypal master of it. Don't let language own you, and don't own language. Just watch. Let nature breathe. That is the ultimate. When how you breathe and how nature breathes, how the whole cosmos breathes, is simultaneous. So, anyways, guys, I want to thank everyone for tuning in. I'm going to read one more poem, and I'm going to read number 7 before I go. Uh, okay, this is an epic poem, I think. The poem is called, from, again, my Solaris, The Mystics Have Come. The mystics have come to save the universe from itself. The love of truth is an awareness of the bliss in being within the ultimate moment where all happens. The flight of our world is a moment with its own self-existent glare. You may doubt this line, but the sun shall testify. We are all bright objects in the sky. But who sees the seer of all things? Can the mirror reflect on itself? Who has held the door open for existence? Charming as it may be, if you're in your head too long, you will get sick of everything. Of everything. There's a space between the word every and the word thing. Caesar really needs to eat that Caesar salad in his time machine. We are not just an extraterrestrial projection that seems to be from a divine projector. Love is so now that any other moment is jealous of the rippleless pond, reflecting the beauty of its own mind. Not even thunder can strike you when your true nature is found within all that is lost. Even Hercules sympathized with Luke Skywalker when family shows were seen again. You have one family, and its name is existence. Guys, you can choose a number between 1 to 34, but only 2 people choose, because after that I think I'm going to be drained. Thyme, one thing to say about your question, how can one find their true calling? Think of it this way, you gotta find the true vision first. That means you gotta find the proper phone for your true calling to call you. You gotta look at the world as it is. You gotta reach a sort of state of mind where you're looking at how things are before how you want things to be, something like that. So guys, somebody has said number 5. Number 5 is called the largest deed. The largest deed. D-E-E-D. So this is the poem, guys. Last poem of the talk. Once a king spoke to a beggar and saw a true king. How could a man in rags be sitting beside God on a throne that is within us all? Some compassionate beings no longer need the spotlight. Anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate the ears of this world. Really, we're 8 billion creatures on a rock in the middle of nowhere. We are realizing, we're reaching a point where we're being aware of the language threshold, and we're in some sense becoming creatures that no longer can be programmed by language, but are tapping back into their own experience of life, So it's like the individual consciousness is actually not an individual thing, because look at how many patterns and stuff in society and your environment and all this is influencing this individuality. So that means to find the true individuality would be to find a state of mind where the distinction or the flaw or the inefficiency was not there. So you got to reverse engineer back to a moment where the problem didn't exist for you and wonder who were you then, you know. So anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in. And so this planetary message inside this bottle, the best message we can give is just to advance communication on the surface of this earth. This is the greatest game to play towards an advanced civilization before the year 2050. When 2050, there's a technological revolution that happens at that point. When the technological revolution happens, then the users of technology can't update themselves outside of the technology anymore. They got to engage the technology and update themselves. So we got to prepare for a potential symbiosis with technology, nature and technology, you know. So anyways, guys, love the world that you're in. Because even if you hated it, you had to love it first, you know. Whatever you hate, you care for, probably. That's why you hate. Because the things you don't care for, you neither love you or you don't hate. Like there's a rock on the ground there. There's like I don't know. There's a leaf here on the porch. Like, how much do I care for this leaf? I mean, I care for it, but I don't go bury the leaf and kind of chant a prayer and say that leaf could live the good life. You know, that leaf is just a leaf. You know, so the mind is evoking its own importance and significance. And I think the secret is to study your attention. What is your attention? Imagine somebody told you got one lifetime to figure out what this mind and attention is, and you got to study it. Because nobody has your eyes, nobody can solve the problems for you, really. It's up to you. So anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in. Blessings. Guys, I'm going to read one more poem. And I'm going to read this for myself. Ever since my childhood, I've had this habit where I would open up books randomly in the middle and just see if that book could communicate, what would my eyes first see of it, you know? So I'm going to just randomly scroll and see what number comes. All right, ready to go. Okay, so it's a poem called Behind the Door There's Nothing. Behind the door, there is nothing. Within, no space thing. All separation is a chance to get to the one. Divine symmetry is your birthright, but what moves birth in the eyes of man? We all have an existential responsibility to be here. So what now, when you have learned to be the now? All nature is transcendentally pure. What gives the heart a chance to be a moment of existence? Don't make words but your own. Do you think the words that describe thought are accurate? All manifestation secretly craves to know itself beyond conception. What makes the window into an opportunity? Do not fly out of ignorance, for the weight of fear might be too much for Icarus to carry. Just like how life, the supreme being, has given my fingers an ability to hold moving words, the moment cannot die. Know this, and you have known all. The moment cannot die. Know this, and you have known all. I'm going to leave you off with that. Blessings, guys. It's like such an ultimate ending to a talk.